We've taken a real Moonshinin to Tim Smith in the new Moonshiners spinoff. Let's drink him, and if you've ever been half a bottle deep on a back porch, gazing at the stars and wondering what kind of sorcery it takes to turn corn into liquid fire, then chances are you've encountered Tim Smith, the high-octane heart of Moonshiners. And now, he's gone solo, well, kind of, in a brand new spin-off that proves once and for all. Moonshining ain't just a pastime, it's a way of life. And Tim? He's the preacher of this backwoods gospel. The new show, Tim Smith, Straight Shine, is part legend, part labor, and all legacy. It doesn't just ride the coattails of Moonshiners. It grabs the still by the coils and gives us a front row seat to the gritty, glorious evolution of a man who turned a family tradition into a legal empire without losing the smell of wood smoke or the sound of cicadas in the dark. So crack open a mason jar and settle in. We're taking a deep sip of what makes Tim Smith the true spirit of American shine. From law dodging to law arbeiten. And never losing his so Tim Smith isn't just a moonshiner, he's a blueprint. He's what happens when raw Appalachian know-how meets stubborn grit and the kind of charm that could sell frost to a snowman. Raised in the hollers of Climax, Virginia, where recipes are passed down like family Bibles and trust is measured in how you take your liquor, Tim learned the craft from his father and grandfather, men who operated outside the law, but inside a deeply rooted moral code. First met him in Moonshiners, where he played the reluctant outlaw with a conscience, the guy who wanted to shine the right way, but still had one boot in the woods. What made Tim stand out wasn't just his knowledge of distilling. It was the way he made moonshine feel honest. Like it belonged in both a mason jar and a martini glass. But the real twist? Tim didn't just dream of going legit. He actually did it. While other shiners kept ducking helicopters and outrunning game wardens, Tim went to war with red tape and licensing boards. The result? Climax Moonshine, a legal, award-winning spirit that still tastes like something your granddad might have buried under the toolshed. This spin-off digs into that story, not just the booze, but the battle behind it. The man, the myth, the Tim Smith. Straight Shine is more than a rehash of his Moonshiners moments. This series shines a light, and sometimes a headlamp, on the full scope of Tim's world, from the aging oak barrels of his modern distillery to the rickety shacks and sleepy diners where it all began. We see Tim the businessman, running a brand, managing employees, strategizing for growth. But we also see Tim the craftsman, the dad, the friend who still picks up the phone for Tickle or Mark and Digger when trouble brews. In one early episode, we watched him go toe-to-toe with a liquor distributor who wants to modernize the Climax label. Cue the classic Smith stare, equal parts polite and don't test me. We ain't some boutique hipster bourbon, he tells the camera. We're Virginia Shine. We don't need a new label. We are the label. Boom. That's Tim, and the show knows it. It leans into those moments, the stubborn, salt-of-the-earth philosophy that made him a fan favorite. Because Tim doesn't just sell shine, he is shine. He's the taste of rebellion aged in hot wood and bottled with purpose. More than shine. The mission behind the Mashwat sets Straight Shine apart is its soul. It's not just about liquor, it's about legacy, local pride, and the long, slow process of building something real. The show's best scenes aren't always the most dramatic. Sometimes they're the quiet ones. Like Tim visiting his father's old still site, wiping away years of overgrowth and memory. Or mentoring a young distiller who reminds him of himself at 20. All big dreams and no license. People think moonshine's about getting drunk quick, Tim says in one confessional. But it's about patience, precision, passion. If you're doing it right, it ain't just science, it's art. And that's the thesis of Straight Shine. It's not just how to make moonshine, it's why. It's the American story, distill familiar faces, fresh fire while the spotlight's squarely on Tim. This show doesn't abandon the Moonshiners' spirit. Fans will get surprise visits from old favorites, sometimes with drama, sometimes just with laughter and a jug or two. Tickle shows up in episode 3 to inspect the new batch, Red. Drink it. The chemistry between them is as strong as the white lightning they pour, a reminder that this is a brotherhood as much as a business. There's also a running storyline with Tim's son JT, who's starting to take a more active role in the business. It's part torch passing, part trial by fire. Watching the two of them butt heads over branding, barrel types, and old school versus new school philosophy. That's TV gold, especially when Tim starts a sentence with, add in some colorful locals, a few rival distillers, and the always present challenge of staying true in a commercial world, and you've got a recipe that's just as flavorful as the product it profiles. The taste of authenticity at its core, Tim Smith, Straight Shine is a tribute, not just to a man, but to a way of life. In an era of corporate gloss and algorithmic storytelling, this show feels like something brewed in a barrel, not cooked in a content lab. It's smoky, sweet, and just a little dangerous. And Tim? He's still that same guy who walked into our living rooms a decade ago with a sly smile and a fire in his belly. The difference now is that the world's finally caught up. They see what we saw all along. A real deal American original, unfiltered and unafraid. Why we're all taking a shine to him, the truth is, Tim Smith embodies something we don't get enough of these days: integrity with grit. He's proof that you can honor your roots without getting stuck in them, that you can build a business without selling out your soul. Straight Shine is a love letter to tradition, and a challenge to the next generation. If you're gonna do something, do it with your whole heart. Whether you're bootlegging in the backwoods or pouring drinks at a wedding, make it mean something. Because Tim Smith didn't just legalize his moonshine. He legitimized the entire culture around it. Bottoms oopso yes. We've taken a real moonshinin to Tim Smith, but not just because he's a likable guy with a southern drawl and a hell of a recipe. We love him because he's authentic in a world full of filters. He's the real pour from the real place, served straight. No chaser, no gimmick, no apologies. Tim Smith. Straight Shine is more than a spin-off. It's a continuation of the American spirit. Rugged, independent, bold, and just a little bit wild. And as long as Tim's behind the still, we'll keep drinking it in. So raise your jaw, y'all. To tradition, to transformation, to Tim. We've taken a real moonshinin to Tim Smith in the new Moonshiners spinoff. Let's drink him in if there's a gospel to be written about American grit, rebellion, and sweet corn whiskey. It starts somewhere in the hollows of Appalachia and ends with a man like Tim Smith. And now, with the brand new Moonshiners spin-off lighting up our screens like a copper still under the moonlight, it's official. We've taken a real moonshinin to Tim Smith. Whether you've been sipping on Moonshiners since the early seasons, or you're just stumbling into the sweet backwoods alchemy for the first time, Tim is the kind of man who pulls you in like the scent of mash on a hot summer night. He's more than just a reality TV star. He's a craftsman, a storyteller, a rebel with a cause. And now, he's center stage in a series that shines brighter than a jar of peach brandy in the sun. From lawbreaker to legal legend, Tim Smith has always walked a tightrope between outlaw and entrepreneur, and the new spin-off series captures that tightrope walk in all its bootlegging glory. A former fire chief with generations of moonshine running in his blood, Tim made his debut on Moonshiners as the heart and soul of the operation. And not just because he looked like he knew exactly what temperature a still should be just by sniffing the steam back in the early days. Tim operated with the kind of reckless charm that made you root for him even as he broke the law. He was stealthy but never shady. Every time he rolled up his sleeves, you could see the legacy of old-school bootlegging in his hands. He wasn't just distilling spirits. He was resurrecting a piece of American folklore. Then, in one of reality TV's most poetic turnarounds, Tim did what no one thought a moonshiner could. He went legal. And to climax, Moonshine it takes a bold man to take an illegal Appalachian tradition and bring it to the masses without losing its soul. But Tim Smith did just that with Climax Moonshine, named after his hometown of Climax, Virginia. Yes, it's real, and yes, they're proud of it. It's the kind of drink that burns a little on the way down and warms your heart like a front porch in July. Tim didn't just slap his name on a bottle and call it a day. He brought authenticity. He took recipes passed down from his father and grandfather, mixed it with business savvy, and turned it into a national brand. All without losing the firewater attitude that made him a household name. In this new Moonshiners spin-off, we see that transition in vivid, high-proof detail. We see Tim navigating the treacherous waters of legality, scaling his operation, managing a brand, and still finding time to honor the deep traditions of backwoods distilling. This ain't just another run-of-the-mill reality show. The spin-off has a soul, and that soul is Tim Smith. It strips away the camouflage and shotgun shells of traditional moonshine drama and focuses instead on the man behind the mash. We see Tim's relationships, not just with business partners and distributors.